Awesome. Right. So, welcome to another Icehouse podcast. I am Gareth Bayliss. I'm not Briar Stewart. My voice hasn't got incredibly deep and cockney. And I am the sales manager at the Icehouse. And today I've got James Galloway, who is the GM of Park Barging. And he did LDP 22 and OMP 50. Welcome, James.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Very, very happy to have you. So a bit of background, James and I have done work together for probably about 5 years. This might go off-piste. There might be a bit of swearing. There definitely will be laughter. And so just get that all out of the way early doors. Anything to add on that?
No. Just that I'm the better looking one.
You are. And you guys can't see that, but I can. And you can see that you've got your white lines where you wear your glasses outside all day long. Yeah. You're someone who works out on the water every week. So give us a quick overview. People won't know what you do and what your business does. So what is Park Barging?
Yeah, so Park Barging is is our parent company, and we run 3 separate barging operations and aquaculture operations within the Marlborough Sound. So we run Park Barging, Kenny Barging and Johnson's Barge Service between Picton and Havelock. And every day's different. Every day's different. So we do everything from mooring servicing through to organising jetty building, general freight, aquaculture servicing, a whole lot of different stuff here and there.
All on the water?
All on the water, yeah.
Awesome. And you're out of Picton?
Picton and Havelock.
And yep. We are in Marlborough today in Blenheim. So start off with a few quick fire questions, get people to know you a little bit. Where did you grow up?
Here. Born and bred. Yeah, proud of it.
We just drove past your parents' bit of land near the airport.
Yep.
Place to live. The only place not to have grapes on it, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
When are you most relaxed?
Never.
You look pretty relaxed now. I'm doing a good job.
It's because I'm with you, though.
Yeah, that's it.
No. On the couch at night, my wife would say never, but when I'm on holiday, which it still takes me a week to calm down, and it doesn't happen that often. So I don't get relaxed too much, but I would have to say, on the couch at night, just watching some TV.
And what's your coffee order?
Latte with an extra shot.
And large then?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And what's the latest book that you've read? Or podcast?
Yeah, I'm not a great reader all the time. I like to read, but just not all the time. So I'm on anything that's an autobiography. So I've just finished Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and then before that, Will Smith's autobiography.
Good.
That was interesting. And podcasts, Jordan B. Peterson. I'm listening to a lot of his stuff at the moment. And when I don't want to really think, I chuck a podcast on called Victory, which talks around the TV and movie industry in the US.
Cool, that's good. Did see that come in, if I'm honest. And so you're a little bit of you're one of our Icehouses who've done both LDP and OMP. There's not that many. There's actually a couple in Blenheim. We've got Josh Wilkinson at Hortus.
Yeah.
He's one of the people who've done both.
Yeah.
So, I mean, differences between the two. Why did you do LDP first before OMP, or?
Yeah, I guess at the start, looking at LDP, I'd never heard of the Icehouse, and we had got to a point in our business where we'd lost a major contract, and we were just sort of going, where are we going to go? How are we going to diversify? And one of our directors at the time, I think he knew Stephen Doecke, and Steve must have had a yarn to him and said, hey, look, I've got this course, do you know anybody? And I got the introduction to Steve, and Steve became a good mate from there, insurance broker, and he just started sort of talking about how this Icehouse thing and going on a leadership development course would be better for you, and at the start I was okay, well, I don't really need it, but looking at it now, going on that LDP, I wouldn't change it for the world. If I had my time again, I wish I'd signed up way earlier.
Yeah.
So Doecke sort of pushed me into it, and I just remember him saying, "You'll never be ready, just go." And so that's why we did the LDP first, because I definitely wasn't ready for an OMP,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't at the time even to go on an LDP. That was expensive, so I think like the money thing was like, mate, this is going to hurt. But I think we actually got around that from memory.
Well, I mean, a bit of insight is that Stephen gave. Stephen was an an insurance broker. Owned a business called Asset Insurance, based in Marlborough. You can actually see a podcast with me and him from a couple of years ago, and he was a huge believer of the Icehouse. Unfortunately, we lost him last year to cancer, but he's an amazing man, good friend of both of ours, and so he gave scholarships to his clients to do our programs, because in his words, making better leaders, better leaders make better businesses. And so instead of giving his clients a little bit of a trip to Aussie or something on the kickback from the insurance brokerage, he would invest into his businesses that he worked with for them to do our programs. So you got a scholarship from him and for the LDP and for OMP. You're a good client of theirs, eh?
Yeah, and I also got a little bit out of BNZ. And I think Jacinda paid for some too. So.
Yeah, there was a little bit. There are lots of ways to get some form of funding for our programs. We always like to make sure people got skin in the game. And what happens from that is that you've done 2 programs. You've got a few people lined up for our leadership program, and you've done bits and bobs left, right, and centre. And so we get people to help people to take that first step. So LDP was awesome when then went through a few years later, and then we got you onto the OMP once you had...
so once I'd sort of got through the LDP, and we'd put together a business plan, and sort of we'd gone through a massive diversification process into commercial property, and that just after the LDP, and bought a few commercial properties and started that and then we'd expanded with another new boat into the operation, and then one of our neighbours or competitors had asked us to purchase them as well. So we'd expanded from 2 boats to 5 boats. We've added staff. When I did the LDP, we had 6 staff, and so through that process, we'd sort of come to another, I guess, a plateau where we'd sort of gone, well, what's next? And so then I'd gone up to a Xero conference and with our accountants, and not 100% sure while I was there, but we were at some fantasy dinner doing some market research stuff, and I was sitting there, and I think I'd been talking to you maybe about coming to do the OMP at some point.
I think I hit you up quite early. I didn't realise you had a shareholding.
And we were I was up there, and I was sitting at this table answering questions with Xero, and then there was this guy across the table, and I was sitting there looking at him going, I know you from somewhere, but I don't know how. You know that feeling? And turns out he was doing the same to me, and he was looking through a CRM system trying to figure out who I was. At the end of the night, I just went up to him and said, hey, I'm James. And he goes, that's who you are. I'm Andy Hamilton from the Icehouse. You've been on my list. Apparently he had some kind of list. And he said, I'd worked out who you were while we were sitting at that table. And so tomorrow morning, I'll see you at 8 o'clock at my office, and you're signing up for the IMP. And I was like, oh, am I? And he goes, yeah, I'll see you at 8 o'clock. And so I got up the next morning, rang my wife and said, do you think I should do this? And then I rang one of our other directors, and he goes, just do it. He said, it was good the first time, it's got to be good the second time. And so I jumped on a Lime scooter, and I scooted all the way down there, and you weren't there, I think.
No, I was here. I was in Blenheim. So you were in Auckland, and so that some of the conferences and stuff that Andy and our CEO Liz will go to, and myself will check out the lists, and often there's 2 or 3 alumni businesses or people on these lists, and then we obviously try and see them. And so Andy knew you were going to be there. He also knew that I'd hit you up for the owner manager program, and so So someone to go through the LDP, our leadership program, and then go on to the OMP isn't common. But what it is normally is there's 2 ways of doing it. One, someone has a small shareholding but wants to get leadership acumen doesn't make big wholesale decisions for the business,
Yeah.
or doesn't have a shareholding at all, but slowly works their way up. And by the time they do the OMP, both the things is you're more involved in the direction of the business as you were, had more of a shareholding, and really the directors are looking at you to kind of grow and take it to the next level. So
exactly.
It was wicked, and it was great that you've gone on and you did OMP 50. So that would have been, we started at OMP 60 in January.
Yeah.
In
I felt like 50 was the number. I just needed to be part of that.
It was.
I felt like the party would be better at the end of the night. So,
was it all right?
Yeah, I think it was. I somehow ended up playing guitar for it at some point, but
and you're not a drinker either, so normally you're there to the bitter end still. You're a party animal.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. So no, it was good. So so the OMP was 2021.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer. It really was. LDP's great. But I mean, looking back, I'd go straight to the OMP now.
Yeah, I think that if you used to look at maybe in your progression through working with us, more leadership skills might have been needed, but a lot of time, and people who are shareholders and want to do some work with us, they often come to our sales team and they say, okay, well, what's the difference between OMP and LDP? If you're more in charge of making decisions for the growth of the business, and you're a shareholder and you're in your position as MD or GM or generally the OMP is the one we push you for, because we want you to get acumen on the business side of it and to look at how you can grow the business. But probably you've got good things from both, so that's a good outcome. What would you say out of the OMP was there any aha moment you go, right, I need to change my role or structure, or something that you go, oh, I wouldn't have thought I would have got that out of the program?
I think there was, throughout the program, I mean, you get there on day one. I'll just say this, you get there on day one, and I just remember walking in and going, I'm the smallest here. I'm the smallest business here. I'm the least experienced. And you're sitting there with guys that multi-million-dollar businesses, like big businesses. And for the first day, you're sitting there and you're working out who's the big dog and and very quickly you realise that, everyone's on the same level. It's just who's got the bigger bank account.
Or more debt.
Or lack of.
Yeah.
And there's like the guys in that group. Still, we have a WhatsApp messenger group. We still message each other most weeks.
Yeah.
And we're bouncing business stuff off each other probably each fortnight. For different stuff. I've got a couple of them that we ring each other probably once a fortnight still. And so you go into that and you're going, I'm out of my depth. I'm swimming. I'm trying to swim, but I'm quickly sinking.
That's not good in your game.
No, don't touch wood.
Touch wood.
And so you push through that, and then you quickly realise that everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking exactly the same thing.
And everyone in there has a thing that we call imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You all think, you look at that room and go, I don't deserve to be here. Everyone does deserve to be there, and that's why we have a bracket of what turnover you need to be on that program, and we assess it when people go through. Big part of our sales process is figuring out if you're a really good fit, and not everyone is. And so once we know you are, we know. And the point of that is that if you weren't a good fit, you wouldn't be having these WhatsApp chats with the friends that you've made from it. And
so and then we sort of got into it. And so aha moment is, I think the big thing for me was when we did our panel discussions, and so we go through, you present what your business is and where you operate and all of that side of things is, and you put into a group, and you've got an external panellist that comes in and sort of listens, and effectively they pick apart your business. And I kind of related to like Dragon's Den, but probably not as scary. But there were some moments in there that I just went, what am I even doing? Like, should I just hand my resignation and go and do something else? Because that's how much it challenged you, but it actually made you realise that, no, I'm here for a reason, and what I do, I don't necessarily need to do.
Yes.
And I need to pass that down. So from a succession plan, like we've got a young guy that's come in, we employed him just at the end of the course actually. He's been with us for 5 years in a part-time capacity, but he was finishing his degree. And so I went to him and said, mate, I know you're going back to uni in like 10 days. You've got 10 days to make this decision. I want you full-time and I'll pay you to do your degree. So I think I gave him 2 study days per paper that he had to finish off, and he was going to be there for 6 months. So he's just last week, even yesterday, I think he told me he just passed his last paper.
Wow.
So so that's really cool. So he's working through all the ins and outs of the different areas of the business at the moment, and then the goal is over the next 2 years to start to slide a bit more into my job.
Good.
And allow me to slide into that next piece. But the aha moment, there were so many. There was a lot of tears. I actually broke down in one of those panel discussions. I remember sitting there sobbing because it was just like, I don't know, like all I can remember is sitting there sobbing, looking like an idiot. I wasn't the only one in my group, so that was good.
That was good.
But it was so emotionally charging, pushing towards that during the process and coming through. So there's so many aha moments.
I think that what people forget, and I've been lucky enough to work at the Icehouse for many years now, but something that I didn't think about until I started working with business owners is how personal it is. You know, and it's really personal. So it's all well and good to go to someone and say, hey, you need to do this program. It's 5 months long. It's 3 days a month. It's 30 odd grand. We can try and get you some support to pay some of it off, but you're going to have a big investment in time and money into this program. Yeah. Do it. I'll call you up. Dog with a bone. Do it. But what you don't realise is that you've got so much going on in your life, and your work is your life. That they cross over. And one of the things that I think that we do quite well, not to talk us too highly, but we're basically bringing you business owners all together who have very different businesses but very similar issues and problems and concerns, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, how you deal with people, how you deal with staff, how you deal with customers, all of that side of things. Everybody's dealing with exactly the same scenario. It's just that somebody's got 50 staff and somebody's got 5.
Yeah.
But the 5s have still got the same issues as the 50, if not worse than the 50, because with 50 you can sort of go, it'll be all right.
Yeah, park it.
But yeah, you're right. It was fantastic, and like I still love that support that we've got, and with all the instructors, with Chris and Liz and those guys, that I can ring up and go, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah, exactly right.
Or flick them a text and go, I've listened to your podcast this week. Yeah. And actually it's what I needed and I didn't realise it.
Yeah. So we obviously through COVID we had to run some of our blocks of the OMP. There's 5 blocks. We had to run them virtually. I met a few of the people who did that program. There was only one that we did virtual blocks, and they actually said it wasn't too bad. But I do think that making you guys get away for 3 days a month for 5 months away from your region, from your business, that's when you start to feel the weight. You know, it's like you being on holiday. You start to feel the weight come off a little bit.
And you'd roll in there on day one. You'd get there at morning tea on the Friday or the Thursday or whatever it was, and you'd walk in. It was like, oh, my mates are here.
Yes.
And you'd get up. You'd have breakfast together, dinner together, lunch together. You'd go and do stuff together, but also outside of the course, you got to know the heart of the person.
Yeah.
And that was really the key. Like, I talked to Chris from Fantail Services, who was on our course up in Wellington all the time, and I just really rate the guy because he just wants to do cool stuff and help people. Yeah. And I have a lot of time for him, and we talk quite regularly.
He's good, and he's very much not in your industry.
Not at all, not at all. But we're bouncing off each other with a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So, a few questions. I knew Brian. I said to Brian, I'll probably go off piece quite a lot, and we'll end up just chatting. So I'm not following. And you've done a bit of due diligence before and got a few answers. So if I don't ask the questions that you're ready for, is there anything that you've implemented? I know you're talking about delegating more, but was anything that you implemented really quickly, or something that you go, oh yeah, we did that, and I don't know why we didn't do that before? Not to do trade secrets and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if I go back to the LDP, one of the things that we implemented pretty much straight away is, and I have to work on this even now, every day, is I had one of our guys go to us. When you do your personality tests and you get
Yeah.
Get the other guys to answer questions for you.
Psychometric.
Yeah, and one guy came to me and he goes, I'm going to answer it, and he used some bad words, and then he said...
It's good that we haven't yet.
Yeah, I know. It's good. And he goes, use some bad words, pretty much go away, let me do my job.
Yeah.
AKA, don't micromanage me. And that stuffed me for about 3 days. I didn't sleep. I was like, I've really hacked this guy off. And when I came back to it, I was just like, yeah, he's right. He's done this longer than I have. But it wasn't that I was trying to micromanage him. I was trying to understand him and understand what he did and what his process was. So if I just said that, it would have been great. So one thing I've tried to do, and I fail regularly and I get told regularly, is stop micromanaging. And that's one thing that I try to wake up every morning and say, don't micromanage today, James. And do I succeed? No.
I reckon there's a fine line between caring and micromanaging sometimes, and especially when you've got skin in the game. I mean, I've done LDP, I've got people who report to me now, and they're a great team, and I really try not to micromanage, but there is times when I just want to go in and and just do it quickly because it'll be easier. But that's what I learned from the LDP, is that not everyone does things the same. And actually, if there is something that they're not doing or a team member's not doing, probably most of the time it's not through them intentionally not doing it. It's either through training, time, capacity, etc., and personality. And so I think that's a good thing to take from it. And that was on the LDP, so then you then implemented that more as a leader within the business. And
so I think is... One thing I've learned is my way isn't the only way of doing things. And I just want to... So I'm trying to do this, is I want to be able to paint a picture of where we're going and let the guys build it with me. And to go, hey, look, set them up to succeed, going, hey, there's what's happening today, that's what you've got to achieve. What do you want to do with this area? And let them come back. And a lot of the time it works. And...
Is that a vision as a business vision for a year or a 5 years? And is there things
not so much on that stuff. Like I'm talking, because the way we work is every day. Like this morning, if I wasn't doing stuff with you, I would have been. I would have gone down to work. We would have helped load the boat with the staff, or just been there with them. That's one of the things that we always try to do, because that's what builds our team.
Yes.
And so you're bouncing from here to here. And so if they've got a question, they can throw it at you. But reality is I don't need to be there. They know what they're doing. They know what they've got to achieve. But the coming back to that and sort of just even day to day, week to week, month to month, that stuff, like that's how much I could micromanage. So I've got to learn that. So paint the picture, go from there. And then with the management teams that we've got in play, that's where you're talking about a year from now. 2 years from now, this is what we're trying to look at. So,
amazing.
Yeah. So.
Do you is there something that you've talked about the LDP and that benefits, but is there reasons why you're now putting some of your staff through our leadership program that you go, well, this is what I got from it, or is it to empower them to step up? Or?
So the biggest thing for me is we talk about your why or whatever. I don't necessarily call it my why, but something I've come to the conclusion is I want to leave people better than I found them each day, each interaction. So for that, I just look at the LDP and go, if you can understand yourself and understand why you do what you do, that's going to benefit so many other people.
And the perception, other people's perception of you. I think that, so you do that, the psychometric test, the leadership behavioural, I've forgotten what it's called.
All of those,
But you do that, and then the 360 means that your team do it as well, and your direct reports, and sometimes your board and others. You can have up to 20 people on it. And I learned from doing that how people's perception of me is far different to what I anticipated it was.
Exactly. And so from that, like, somebody once, when I went on the LDP, somebody said, this is going to be a real good business course. I was like, this ain't a business course, buddy. I said, this is a personal development course with a little bit of business chucked in. And it was funny, Doecke brought that to me after I'd done the course. He goes, now you know it's not a business course, eh? And I'm going, yeah, mate, it was, but it wasn't. I learned more about myself, how I lead, how I do certain things, the annoyances that people have.
Yeah.
And it was funny doing all those personality tests and all of that. When I did it with the LDP versus the OMP, I got some of the same staff to do those tests again for me.
Yeah.
And hey, they say you can't read who wrote it. I'm pretty sure you can. But you, I believe there was a change.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a cool comparison to be able to work with. So by putting, like, we've got 2 signed up for next year.
Yeah.
Both one a senior manager and one young guy that's going to come through and work under me. And so looking at where they're going, I'm not so expecting them to come out and change the world in what they do, but I want them to be better people.
Yeah.
And
they'll be more effective in places. I think something that is often forgotten, and especially in SME businesses, is that the staff are the business.
Yeah.
You are the business. So even changing certain things about your behaviour or how you communicate can have a huge effect on how you lead a team.
Yeah.
And especially the leadership, it is around you as a leader and how people perceive that. And then also onto the owner manager programs, like, okay, well, less of the leadership, more of me as an owner.
Yeah.
But what's my role? You have to reflect upon what you do and how you grow the business.
Exactly.
But it is still quite personal.
And and so that was what I see with them. It was quite interesting going through that whole. I'll just jump back to the when we did the panel side of things, and we did the secondary part of it. And I was reading through last night. I thought I better grab that out and have a bit of a read.
It was right next to your bed. You read it every night, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Of course.
And I was sort of sitting there. You're going to throw me off there. I've got to be careful.
I just put a bit of bait out there. I just said bedroom, and then
I'm going to be careful.
And
so looking at that, and it was funny because the panel had pitched all these ideas about, buying out competitions and things like that. And then when I went to the next page, it's like, nah, don't agree with that, don't agree with that, don't agree with that. And then it painted a picture of where we wanted to go. And then 1 month before the final OMP thing, one of our other competitors approached us to purchase them. And so I'd just gone against my whole business plan and gone, well, if we don't get a shot at, if we don't do that, what does that look like? And so I had to go into the last thing going, hey, this is what I said we'd do, but we're still going to do that, but we're just going to jump into this at the same time. So some of our business plan that we did at OMP 50 is still sort of sitting there in the wings. Waiting to jump into it. So effectively, O'Donnell Park Barging is O'Donnell Park Barging, but we see ourselves as a business that is to turn opportunity into success. And so effectively, O'Donnell Park is an investment company. We're not a barging company. It's just that we do barging.
Yeah.
And so through that, it's our goal for our staff to be succeeding. So I think by the end of September next year, every one of our staff will have gone through skipper school and be a qualified skipper, which that's apart from obviously our office team. So that's we've got 30 in our team. So
wow.
So there's only 4 or 5 of us that won't have gone through skipper school.
And externally, outside in, that's attractive because not everyone's going to stay at O'Donnell for the rest of their life, and that gives them opportunities to think about other things. And people go on a leadership development program. You know that not everyone's going to stay at that business for another 20 odd years, but in the next 3 years, if it improves them as a person, it helps the business, and then they love working for you. Yeah. You do a bit in the community. Was there something that the Icehouse community that you got from, or you loved, or what was the question that was actually there? What value does being involved in the Icehouse community bring to you?
Well, I'd get to hang out with you.
Yeah,
but no, I think
I would hang out with you if we didn't work in some way together. I think
I probably would too, but I'd have to watch you around certain people. Because Marlborough's got a really good alumni.
Yeah, it has. Per capita, most alumni in this region than anywhere else.
Oh right, okay.
Based on population, obviously, and Auckland's massive. Christchurch is very big, Waikato is really up there, but Blenheim and Marlborough region, it has a lot, and all super engaged, really engaged.
So, like, for instance, tonight we've got a bit of a catch-up with everybody. Amon, he pops in quite regularly, and
that's not a bad thing. It's fine, you know.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, you're my favourite.
He won't listen to this. He won't hear about it.
That's the kind of guy.
We'll test this and say.
So we have a lot of communication in regards to that, and like we all, because Blenheim, hey, let's be honest, it's small. We've got one main street. We bump into each other regularly, and so you know you're down the road and you see Daryl, Mag, and Turbo, and quite often you'll see the boys from Hortus floating around.
Yeah.
And everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
And so the community is there, but I really like the approach also that when there is an event here, everyone buys in. We've got Crombie Lockwood here that's obviously taken over Steve Doecke's program with scholarship program, so they're engaged, and I'm hoping to see them grow that more and more as well. So I think the Icehouse community is great. I jump on the old app every so often just to see what's happening, but not too much.
No, Icehouse Central.
Icehouse Central.
Yeah.
But and I went up to the conference this year. This year?
Yeah, it was. No, that was in May. We've got another one in May.
And so that was really good. Not because of the people necessarily you catch up with on the day, but the speakers that sort of give you a bit of a kick up the bum and go, hey, actually what I'm doing is real small. Like, how the heck are they even pulling that off? And then we get a chance to meet up with our OMP and have dinner.
And you're also similar that even in those conferences, and we have had, I think we had about 100 odd and 150 odd this year, and we'll probably do the same, if not more, this year. Next year, sorry. You don't know who you know in the room, but you do already know them, and then we deliberately sit you randomly at random tables, and by the end of it, it's like you've had a block of an OMP and you've made new mates.
Exactly.
And we want that. And obviously, the network's a big part of it. Yeah. Obviously, you're not being paid to do this, so big thanks for your time. But to kind of wrap it up and finish off, what's the future look like for you, but also for O'Donnell Park Barging?
So for us at the moment, we're kind of in a bit of a settle phase. We've seen a lot of growth over the last 3.5 months. Sorry, not months.
Years.
So we've pretty much doubled our vessel capacity in that short time. So it's now time of a bit of settle, and just to settle those operations, settle the staff, and start see that staff growth, and then just finesse for a little bit before we do the next thing. We do have a couple of little things in the pipeline, but for me it's trying to get out of my day-to-day in the business stuff and start working out into that growth side of things a little bit more. It's just been like last 18 months has been really tough working in the business to get those acquisitions running to where we want them, but we've got great management teams in play that are doing a fantastic job, and it's gonna work. We just got to take time. We just got to work with each other and keep smiling. And I'd like to work with the people and to grow them. And hence why I've already made those moves on LDPs. But we've got some of the other young guys that might just need some more basic courses and things like that to grow them.
Yep.
But no, that's where we're sitting at the moment.
Well, we love working with you, and we're stoked that you're a part of our alumni network, and I think it's a good indicator of the type of person you are. If ever I've got someone who's thinking about the OMP, I'll often flick them your number, because I know that you'll just speak the truth, and you're not on any commission. If you don't think it's right for someone, you'll tell them, and you'll call a spade a spade. And like the cut out of your jib, I think you're a good bloke, and I'm glad to have met you, and thanks for spending this time.
Oh, thanks. No,
that's right. I have to say that. I had to put it on there at the end. Brian, you can cut that bit out. But,
and the tears. But no, thanks for having me. And hey, look, I'm more than happy for you to throw my number out, because hey, I'm an advocate.
Yeah, we know.
And do rate what you guys do, because it's changed my life.
Oh, good. Well, we'll leave it on that note. Thanks so much.
Good.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.